Hello, my name is Bill Gannon, and what we're going to do, we're going to demonstrate our sump pump barrier. Sump pump barrier is used for containment areas that don't have any way to get rid of water. They use a sump pump. The sump pump automatically goes on as the flow of rainwater goes up. And what's going to happen, we're going to have a water container here, we have an oil container here, and going over here, you see the hoses. And what we have is we have the water hose that comes around from the back and comes in here, because we're going to do a full-scale water and oil demo. So water is first going to come in, it's going to come in through the top, and inside the container is one of our regular petro barriers. That's 20 inches in depth. So the water is going to filter through that, and it's going to discharge through discharge here. Then we're going to shut the water flow off, and we're going to actually turn the pump with transformer oil in it. The oil is going to come up. We're going to continue first. At first point, we're still going to let the water come in and the oil come in at the same time and mix. So what that's going to do is it's going to emulsify the two liquids together. Then we're going to shut the water off and just have a full-scale oil spill. What you're going to see as the level raises inside the pump-through barrier, we have a discharge area that would actually go back into the oil containment pit. So this is the overflow valve. And there's also a top on the top, so the overflow valve will take any of the oil, excess oil, and bring it back into the containment area. And what that will do is it will just continually recycle until either the pump burns out or everyone in the facility knows that there's a problem with the containment area and they come out and take care of it. So you're going to see Patrick, who's going to be up on top working the valves, and John, who's going to be down below working the pumps. Patrick is now at the controls. Controls up on top. Patrick, the water control is right there.
Oil.
And then the main shutoff valve is right there. That's fully open at this point. This is the water below, and John is going to turn the water on at this point right now. Okay, now the water is going into the sump pump barrier, and it'll take probably about 20 to 30 seconds before the water starts coming out through the bottom. The drainage through the sump pump barrier is roughly about 30 gallons a minute in this 24-inch diameter. Okay, the water is now starting to drain out into the water vessel below. And back up. As you can see, the water is rising until all the channels open up in the petro barrier. The flow rate will start to increase as more water goes through it. Okay, panning down is our transformer oil, and we have roughly about 75 gallons of oil that we're going to introduce into the petro barrier. The pumps work on float valves, so as you can see now, this bottom, our water level is almost to the top of our pump, but we still have plenty of room in our vessel. Okay, at this point, we're going to now turn on the oil, and John is plugging in the oil. Okay, the oil is now on, and Patrick's putting in the oil. Now put a little water in there too. Okay, we've got both oil and water going in at the same time. I'm going to just put a cover over the top to keep any splash off. So there's a good mixture of oil and water, and now Patrick's going to shut the water off completely, and we're going to just let the level of oil go into the barrier. As you look down here now, the water is still crystal clear. So no oil is going in, but the flow is already starting to decrease. Coming back up to the barrier again. Okay, now if you look at the overflow is now going back into the container. The water flow coming out of the barrier is slowing down considerably. Okay, as you can see now, the oil level is almost at the top of the barrier. If I look down here, you can see the return flow going back into the oil containment. We're still pumping water into the barrier, and now John's going to go over to the discharge and get some water. And we're looking at the water level, and there's no sheen on the water. Okay, the oil is coming down through the return line. As you can see it come through there. The oil is coming down, and it's going right back into the container. The oil is still being pumped into the petrol barrier, so it's a continuous loop cycle at this point. The water flow is slowing, as you can see. Taking a sample, and the sample of water is sheen free. So as you can see, the water is still crystal clear. The oil is still returning back into the containment area, and the oil is still being pumped. So right now we've got a continuous cycle. And what we're going to do is now we're going to shut the oil off and then monitor the discharge water for any oil sheen. It's now been 20 minutes since we started this test, and you can see that we just have a small amount of water coming out. I'm going to put our clean container underneath. As you can see, we just have clear water that's coming out at this point. So with roughly the pressure of 1.5 feet of oil and water going through at the same time, this shows you how the sump pump barrier is going to protect any contained area. I'm going to take a look at the water, and the water is crystal clear. So what we'll be doing is we're going to actually let that water drain out. We'll catch it again, and then we'll actually be taking the whole barrier apart and showing you the inside after it's been solidified and set up. And we're actually going to leave the oil head content in it over the weekend, and we won't be taking it apart for 3 days.